pass now.
Okay, we're about to go live. Got it?
I got it.
So, are you also looking at your Facebook page?
No, I'm looking at Zoom. So let me go back to Facebook. Will I be able to see it on the Facebook page?
Correct.
I can't see it. Maybe I should refresh. Aha. Now I can only see myself.
It seems to go between us. Side by side would be ideal, agreed. And I have seen that done. But it seems today, this is what's happening. And there seems to be a minor delay, just getting a feel for this.
Yes. Hello, everybody who's joined us. Hello, Kevin.
I'll see if there's an option for side by side settings.
Aha. I see.
Use
Yeah. Yeah.
So does it move between when we're talking? Is that what happens? So does it move between when we're talking? Is that what happens?
So if I talk, will it show me?
So does it move between when we're talking? Is that what happens?
So if I talk, will it show me?
So does it move between when we're talking? Is that what happens?
So if I talk, will it show me?
So does it move between when we're talking? Is that what happens?
So if I talk, will it show me?
So does it move between when we're talking? Is that what happens?
So if I talk, will it show me?
That's I'm not sure why. I think we'll just have to roll with it, my darling. I'm going to turn off the Facebook so that there's no background noise and we can just engage with each other. How does that sound to you?
It just means we probably can't see the comments.
That's true, yes.
And that's not ideal because I'd like to respond to people's... Actually, what I could do is turn the sound off on my phone and look at people's comments this way.
Good thinking.
And then hopefully we don't get that same feedback. How are we going for time? 1 more minute.
Spot on, yes.
And hopefully people's comments will appear in my Facebook app. And there may be a delay for anybody who's watching and can hear. I'm sorry if there's a delay in answering your questions because the comments sometimes take a couple of minutes to appear. All right, there's already 10 comments. Can you hear me, Alexis? There's a delay in answering your questions. So here we go.
Thank you for the feedback, everybody, on the sound. Could you let us know if that's clear for you now?
Hopefully that's not echoing now. And I think it will toggle between the speakers. So when I'm speaking, you'll see me, and when Alexis is speaking, you'll see Alexis. So Alexis, you and I will have to try and not interrupt each other.
That'll be tough. I'd love you to take the floor, Rach, and I can keep a track of questions. I like to think of myself as kind of speaking on behalf of people who might be watching. How does that work for you?
That would be terrific. Let's do it that way. If you're happy to keep your eye on the comments as we go, then I can focus on looking straight ahead.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So today we are talking about family dynamics. We had a few comments last week from people who, especially when we're in a lockdown situation, there was a question regarding teenagers and how to manage teenagers with their friendships. And there was also comments around parents addressing their own mental health issues and also being able to address their children. So where would you like to start, Rach?
Yeah, I'm remembering those questions as well. So one question was how to deal with your own children's ups and downs when you're struggling with mental health challenges. One is how to support children with mental health challenges themselves. And the other was about helping teenagers who are having challenges with friendships. So I guess all of these are about parenting, and the things I want to talk about probably apply whether we're talking about parenting small people, teenagers, or even young adult children. So hopefully that what we discuss will be relevant to all sorts of relationships. One of the things when I'm talking to parents, a lot of my clients are parents, is, I talk about getting the balance right between meeting your children's needs, tuning into the needs of your children. You often say little people have big feelings and big people have big feelings too, and our feelings point to our needs. And one of the traps, and this is not meant as a criticism of any parents, one of the traps we fall into as mothers and fathers when we're exhausted and we're not getting our needs met is we unconsciously look to our children sometimes to get our needs met. And it sounds bad when you say it out loud, but we do look to our children to help meet our need for peace and order and even validation and self-esteem and these kind of things. And this is actually very human. But I think it's really good just to be conscious of when we're focused on our needs and our children meeting our needs and expectations versus tuning into their needs. And we all know that it can be quite effortful, deliberate, and even tiring to be focused on someone else's needs so much. This is the big shock of parenting. Once we became mothers or fathers, we realized how many needs these little people had and how much it took, how many cognitive and emotional resources it took to be an attuned parent. So once upon a time, we had the village, and say the mother, if you're a mother, had the support of the extended family in the village. So it's very isolating for a lot of parents these days, dads and mums. And so if you're a parent struggling with your own mental health issues, it's very important to do what you can, and I know it's hard, to get the support for your needs as you possibly can. And I know there's some restrictions for some people financially and in terms of their time. But what I've also seen as a psychologist is mums and dads who have a story in their head that they have to be the perfect parent and they have to self-sacrifice, and they don't look after their own needs. They don't meet their need for fun. They don't meet their own need for rest or support or empathy or learning or, self-care. And if they neglect their needs for too long, they become chronically stressed and perhaps even burnt out. And parent burnout really is a thing. So it's a very general thing to say, I know, but do whatever you can to look after yourself, meet your own needs. And first of course, first that requires you to identify your need. You can't express a need or seek support for your own needs if you don't even know what you need. So this is Parent Self-Care 101.
Okay. So this is great. You've dived straight into the needs and pointed to the issues if parents don't attend to their needs, if they have engaged with the self-sacrificing way of thinking as a parent. And I think it's a very common way of thinking. It's certainly the way that that I was raised, and I think many of us in our generation. So how do you encourage a parent to tangibly connect with his or her own needs?
So when we are in survival mode, which many parents do operate in, there's quite a fast pace to that. We're kind of doing, tasky. We're stressed, we're anxious, our thinking is fast, our heart rate even goes up. And in that state of stress and anxiety, it's very difficult to connect with your needs. That's what I have found. I might know all the words for my needs, but I've only perhaps got an intellectual, or sometimes not even an intellectual idea or understanding of my needs. So I need to find a way to slow down. I think on our last Facebook Live, you mentioned holding onto the furniture as a way of grounding and slowing down. I mentioned listening to classical music during the witching hour so I could have an auditory anchor, a reminder to slow down, to breathe, to feel my feet on the floor, to hold myself against the furniture, to literally slow myself down, slow everything down, because until I do that, I really can't touch into what it is I need. Now, that's one way. Sometimes just talking with somebody, your partner or a trusted friend or your therapist, about how you're feeling can help find the need underlying the feeling. So our feelings really are our portal to our needs, but I don't know what I'm feeling until I slow down a little bit, sense into my body. Oh, I'm feeling stress. I'm feeling loneliness. I'm feeling hurt. Sometimes our children do things and it hurts our feelings. Like, let's be honest. I often say to my children, you have a bit more power than you realize, darling. That actually hurt me. Or I'm feeling powerless or something else, but I can only identify the feelings through my body, my mind as well, but my body is essential. Through my feelings, I might just figure out what I need through talking about my feelings as well as feeling my feelings. Then I can start to figure out my needs. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. I hope it answers listeners' questions as well. What I've heard you say is that in order for parents to meet their own needs, it requires firstly that they develop the ability to slow down, or even in that very moment, find a way, whether it is through anchoring to an auditory or a kinesthetic contact point, or whether it is using their own breathing, and then through that will facilitate an awareness of needs. And then the connection, the first one to the feeling, and then the connection to the need. And that bit interests me as a yoga therapist. I'm interested in the connection between our feelings, especially our bodily feelings, as an indicator of our needs. You said this quite early on, that our feelings point to our needs. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. I mean, our feelings are created from two sources, in my experience. Our feelings might be triggered by something the kids do, or something someone said. The external environment provides the triggers. But the causes of our feelings are twofold. One is the story we're telling ourselves, the thoughts that we're buying into. So, we talked about anger at one of our practice groups, you'll remember, and anger is usually full of shoulds. This shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't be doing this. They should be, she should be, he should be, blah, blah, blah. If we can identify the story in our head, we can probably see that's fueling our feelings. But the other force that's acting on our feelings is that we have a need and it's not being supported or satisfied. So if I want something like rest, support, mutuality, acknowledgement, or something else, and that need, cooperation when it comes to children, if that need is not being satisfied, if it's chronically unsatisfied, that's going to be producing feelings in me, feelings of frustration or powerlessness or stress. And so the access to our own feelings, this is true for our children as well. We want to help our children build emotional intelligence and emotional literacy so they can identify what they're feeling in order to identify what they're needing. Because once we're there, then we can have creative thinking and conversations about what we can do differently.
Okay. So you're saying to recognize our stories, the stories that are relevant to our feelings,
yeah.
And recognizing any shoulds around that. I should be a better, I should be a calmer parent. I should be able to keep it all together.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many shoulds on parents that they put on themselves as well as other people putting, I've had it myself. I should spend more time with my kids. I shouldn't let them watch so much screens, blah, 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 blah. The shoulds go on. And shoulds produce shame and guilt. And this actually blocks us from taking action. So we need to identify the shoulds and what we're telling ourselves. And then, underneath the anger and frustration that we may have at our kids or at ourselves, there'll be a more vulnerable feeling. Like maybe we're feeling alone. Maybe we need more support. Maybe we need more cooperation. Maybe we need more help. And, when we connect with our needs, we slow down and then we're able to have a conversation. I know I've had family meetings with my kids where I've managed to stay calm enough to say, guys, I'm struggling. I'm feeling frustrated and disappointed and alone with all of this. And I really want your ideas as to how we can cooperate more and I can feel more supported so that I'm a better mother and you feel like you're contributing and everybody, gets a better deal. What are your ideas? And speaking from my needs rather than my shoulds, it makes all the difference.
Okay, so you're suggesting even really communicating that honestly with our children about what we're needing as parents. I'm needing cooperation. What are some of the other needs that you think are relevant to parents that they could articulate to their kids?
It's a great question. One of the big ones with one of my 3 children, the oldest one, it relates to respectful communication. And so I know I've said to her a number of times, I want more respectful communication than that. And I want that to be both ways. So if you perceive that you're not getting respectful communication from me, please tell me. And if I want more respectful communication from you, I'm going to tell you. And often she'll just say, yeah, sorry, I'm just really tired. And I'll say, it's okay. And it may not change the world, but I'm glad that I could say something about wanting more respectful communication rather than saying, don't be so rude. How dare you talk to me like that? Because this is going to produce defensive-ness. It's more powerful to just say what I want rather than criticize what I don't want.
Yes, this reminds me of a conversation I had with my daughter last night where she changed plans and didn't let me know. And I was very tempted I was feeling angry, but I did manage to say I need trust. And that alone, I think, made the difference, certainly in my quality of communication. It wasn't perfect, but at least it helped us both to identify what's the important ingredient in this situation. What other needs do you think parents are probably needing at the moment, and particularly the ability to articulate to their kids?
Yeah. I mean, do you mean during lockdown? Because we're still in lockdown and we've just come out of lockdown in Brisbane.
I think there's things like mutuality is a question, is a word that you've taught me as a need. which again, I think is quite new for parents, having come from an authoritative type upbringing ourselves, to recognise mutuality in our relationship with our kids.
Yeah, I mean, mutuality is something that we can live without for a while, but if we live without mutuality for a long time, we end up resentful. Because to me, mutuality is about some equivalency or some balance. And if a relationship feels really lopsided for a long time, there's no kind of equal exchange of energy. It's like a friendship. You know, if one friend is giving everything and the other friend is taking everything, eventually this person's going to get resentful and tired. So that's not going to work for either person. So with our children, with our friends, we can express that as, you know, wanting some more equality around whatever it is, time, energy. With our children, it's the same thing, really. And this is where I think sitting with our children, maybe having that family meeting and saying, this is not working for me. I'm starting to feel resentful. I'm really tired. I'm frustrated, and I don't want to feel this way. You know, I want to be a loving, caring, respectful mother, and, you know, I want respectful conversations. Let's talk about how we can do things differently to create more mutuality, more cooperation, more mutual support. See, mutual can be put in front of a lot of needs words: mutual understanding, mutual support, mutual cooperation, mutual respect, mutual, you know. So when we talk about mutuality, it depends which kind of other need we're mixing in there. Shared responsibility, you know. Now, of course, a 4-year-old can't do very much compared to a 14-year-old, and every parent's going to have different standards and desires for what they want. But, you know, I think anyone listening will know that eventually, if you feel resentment, there's a flag there for you to listen to. And I define resentment to my clients as, I have unmet needs, and now I'm blaming the other person for my unmet needs. That's what all resentment is, right? Me blaming you for my unmet needs. When I feel resentment, I go, aha, there's something I want that I'm not getting. And the challenge for me is to figure out what that is and then find a way and a time to speak that. And that's scary and vulnerable to do. But what's the alternative?
Okay, so you're encouraging parents to be vulnerable and honest, and speak their needs to their children.
Yeah.
I'm keen to see whether there's direct questions from the group, but my final question is regarding requests, and you did touch on it already, Rach. You mentioned things like, you know, how can we do things differently, or what suggestions do you have? And again, I think this is quite new for parents these days, as opposed to the authoritarian parenting, which is, I will tell you what to do without any questions. What other questions can parents be asking their children? What other words might you offer them?
Well, I once met a parent educator who taught me this, and I've been using it ever since. Instead of barking orders at my kids, I say, I'd love it if, I'd so appreciate it if. So it feels like a request for them. You know, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying, I'd love it if you would. And, you know, if you can't, tell me why not. And normally kids are so honest usually, and quite logical and quite smart. I'll say, if you can't do it, tell me why not. And they'll say, well, I can't because I really need to blah, 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 and I really need to get in and I have to do blah, blah, blah. And they'll give me their excuse, although often it's just a pretty good reason from their point of view. And so then we can negotiate. It's like, okay, well, how about you take 10 minutes to do X, Y, and Z, and then you empty the dishwasher. So let's go and look at the clock together. Okay, it's 3:30, 3:40, come out and help me with the dishwasher, or whatever it might be. So we can negotiate with our kids and send the message that their needs matter as well, and their values and their preferences matter as well, so that we're in a negotiation with them. We're role modeling such vital relationship skills when we do this. You know, it's the authoritarian old school model of parenting does not model what the world needs now. We need to model assertive, confident negotiation based on needs with our children.
Thank you so much for saying that, Rach. I agree. And I'm sure there are a lot of parents out there who feel there is another way other than coercion. It's just a lack of knowing, quite literally, the words to speak. So you've given us the tools just by giving us the language. This does change the relationship we have with our own children. And as you say, then models relationship to our children for their existence, their lifestyles, their future. It's a really powerful practice.
And I think, like, at first it's hard, like anything, when you first try something different, it's wobbly and clunky. Of course, that's like anything. Learning to drive a car was the same. You've just got to keep practicing, and you'll get more confident. These days, I'm so confident to say to my children, it really hurt me when you said that, let's try that again, because I didn't like how that went. Or I think it probably really hurt you, didn't it? Or it scared you when I raised my voice, and I'm sorry. And yeah, let's talk about that. There's a confidence we need as parents. I'm not suggesting we be weak, passive, laissez-faire parents at all. And of course, we can mess up, and we can mess up, and we can mess up, and we can repair and say sorry. But we still are the leaders in their lives, so it's up to us to show them the way.
There's a couple of comments that are worth sharing.
Yes.
Kevin Falk says responsibility and accountability, open communication, easy words. So I mean, that I take that to mean that we can. It is easy to ask for responsibility and accountability. Not to say that it depends, of course, on the age appropriateness, but and open communication to simply ask for that. His comment may also mean that it's easy to say and tricky to do, but I think you've touched on that also.
It can be hard, but we've just got to keep practicing.
Teresa Karen White says it's excellent to share. You two mums are not perfect. Many people believe other people have perfect lives. Have you got anything to say on that one?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that mental health professionals have perfect lives and never lose their temper. And none of that's true. We're climbing our own mountains as much as anybody else. It's just a bit easier to see my client's mountain from my mountain because I have a different perspective than they have when they're actually on their own mountain. But I'm on my mountain and I lose perspective on my mountain. I need other people who can look at my mountain and say, I can see some things you can't see, Rachel. Excellent. Good. So we're all just doing our best, and no one's perfect.
And important to be a part of the culture of honesty, I would say, around parenting.
Oh, yeah.
There was something you said earlier that reminded me of last week, Rach, when you suggested to the kids that you use the time, and we spoke last week about a visual. I've certainly found, especially with the younger kids, but even my son who's now 12 or nearly 12, that the visual grounding makes the difference between it registering or becoming a background noise. Did you have anything more to say on the visuals?
Yeah, it's especially helpful with younger children, I think, the visuals and that mental, it's such an easy parenting thing, but the mental preparation, I still give my kids a wind up, even the 15 and 17-year-old, I still say 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes, because we all need psychological preparation to change gears in our brain, I think. Yeah, yes.
Okay. So we might put it out to participants or viewers, if they have any questions, to leave those in the comments. Anything that you're dealing with in your home life at the moment, tricky situations with your kids, whatever ages they are, whatever your situation is.
Did you see the comment, Alexis, from Christina Buckley, who says, I love the drop anchor idea for emotional regulation, but I still struggle balancing my teenage son's autonomy and self-discovery, along with how much to meet his needs emotionally. Sometimes the discussions pushes him away. This is the thing with teenagers. You'll never get it perfect with teenagers because teenagers will challenge you because they're challenging themselves internally. The challenge for them being independence versus dependence, attachment from childhood versus identity and freedom of adulthood. And so because they're challenged with that internally, they will challenge you, but try not to take it personally, because when, a mentor once said to me, if someone challenges you, Rachel, don't take it personally. They're just challenging themselves. That helped me so much. And, it will be messy with teenagers sometimes because they've got this tug of war between childhood and adulthood. You said it to me this morning on our walk, Alexis, that sometimes they're the child and sometimes they're the adult, and there's a child and an adult in them that are kind of vying for dominance or something. And so it's a tough time. And yes, when you try and connect emotionally, they won't be in the right headspace sometimes. They will push you away. They'll tell you to get lost. Don't take it personally. They'll come back to you. And, if they know you're there, just keep holding onto that rope and they'll pick up the other end of the rope when the time is right. Just back off, say, I'm here when you need me. That's as good as it gets, I think. I don't know what else to do with mine anyway.
Would you share that complete analogy, Rach, with us? I think it is very relevant to this question. You gave me that analogy when I was really struggling with my teenage daughter. And as with Christina, I've advocated for a long time talking about our feelings. And when that was met with not only a wall, but a shutdown, that can be really difficult as a parent.
Yeah.
And you gave me the analogy of holding the rope. Would you share that with us, please?
Yeah, it's actually an article. I'll put it in the comments when I find it again. It's called the letter your teen wishes they could write to you. And it starts off by saying, dear mom or dear dad, the struggle that I'm having with you right now, the battle, I need this. I need the fight. I need the battle, because in the battle, I am figuring out where the parameters are. I'm figuring out who I am and what I want and don't want, what I can get away with and what I can't get away with. A bit like a toddler, just 10, 12 years later down the track. Their brains go into, huge development, just like when they were babies and toddlers. So it's almost like a renaissance of toddlerhood. And they need the fight. The article said, I need this fight. I need this tug of war. If I pull hard on the rope, just hold the rope firmly for me. If I drop the rope, please, you keep your end of the rope. Don't drop the rope, because I'll come back and we need the tether. The rope connects us. So just don't drop the rope. Don't give up on me. And when I pull on the rope, just hold tight, kind of thing. And one of the comments here is, I think, from Wendy Gunnell. She says, I think the balance comes back when they're in their 20s. And this is what I keep thinking. And all my friends with difficult teenagers, I'm like, it won't last forever. It's not permanent. Their brains are a construction zone right now. It will settle down. Don't drop the rope.
And that was my experience. I hope it gives you peace of mind, Christina, that my daughter did shut down for a period of time, and now she's come back closer than ever, just through holding the rope. And she did drop it for a while, but she came back. I hope that for you and your two sons.
Yes. Now there's a question from Amy. Did you see that one?
I'm just getting down to that one. Did you respond to Catherine? She's a teacher.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Here we go. It's frustrating that parents want to be friends with their kids and do everything for them. Wow, that's a really interesting question, Catherine. I'm inclined to agree with you to a point, for sure. I think that we forget sometimes in this day and age as parents that we still need to be a legitimate authority. We are the parent, They are the child. We have a lot more life experience than them. Their brains haven't finished developing. Ours have. There's some biological realities here. And children actually don't feel as safe as they want to feel or as they could feel if you try too hard to be their friend. I'm not saying don't be friendly and warm and affectionate with your kids. Of course, that's great. But, you know, hopefully children have their own friends and teenagers have their own friends. We are there to help them know where the parameters of their container lie. Now, of course, that's a dynamic tension, as we all know, but if we try too hard to be our child's friend, then we forget our role as a leader in their lives. It's like a boss trying too hard to be a friend. It's not to say you can't be friends with your boss, but we've got to know when we're going into our role as the legitimate authority in their lives. So I'm inclined to agree with you there, Catherine. And some parents just don't know how to do that. Most parents are trying their best, but they don't know what else to do. Yeah. What do you think, Alexis?
Well, I'm actually aware of time because we've just passed the half-hour mark.
Oh, yes, it's 5:30.
Look, I think this is obviously a topic that we could speak on for years. And when I was preparing for this discussion, it occurred to me that parenting is really, it's a longitudinal study. So the trick is that we don't really know the long-term effects of our parenting. That's, to me, the biggest struggle. But all we can do is continue with our own development and share that along the way. That's been my approach.
Yes. Okay. I noticed there's one more question there. I don't want to ignore people's questions from Amy.
Yeah.
Did you see the one from Amy where she's asked, what do we do if the waiting list to see psychologists is quite long? How do people manage? And it's a really big challenge. Unfortunately, there's no magic answer there. There are long waiting lists for psychologists. This is one of the reasons we want to do Facebook Lives, is so we can be here my Facebook page exists to support people from their homes. There's some great online programs you can do. Alexis and I were talking this morning about doing an online program, and we'll get it together as quick as we can. In the meantime, there are other ones like MindSpot, Beyond Blue have some. There are government subsidized and funded programs for mental health support, joining meetup groups and other groups to get social support, going to see your GP. You know, luckily we do have options in Australia while you wait to see a therapist. I'm going to write a blog post on this topic very soon, Amy, so I'll be sure to post it on our Facebook page. So keep your eye out for that one in the next few days, because this is a very important question you've asked.
And on that too, I mean, that is a primary reason that you and I are working together, right, Rachel, and offering the workshops that we're offering. I was with a client yesterday and she was saying the same thing, that she couldn't get in with a psychologist. I said, you know, we're offering a practice. So if you are in the Brisbane area, it's worth staying really closely attuned to our events. And increasingly we'll be able to offer those live. And I think once you know, someone has identified with a practice, then they can almost run with it themselves, so long as there is a community around them. And that then takes the onus off the mental health practitioners and empowers clients to do their own learning, their own discussion, once there is a framework that they know they can work with.
Yeah, it's definitely a powerful source of support. And thank you, Alexis. Do you want to, Diane, I'll respond to your question after we get off the video about the affordability issue. So I'll put an answer to that in writing. So I'm aware that we've only got a minute or so left. Alexis, did you want to mention to people about the one place left on our retreat, which we're running next weekend?
Monday we kick off, yes, the yoga and psychology retreat. We kick off on Sunday at 1 o'clock and we finish up on Tuesday. So I realise it is short notice, but having just been through lockdown, there may be some opening in your schedules. And yes, there is one available cabin which can sleep one person if you'd like the cabin to yourself, or you could bring a friend or a relative. And you'll be learning from Rachel and myself a combination of psychology practices and yoga practices. Our interest lies in the crossover between the two. So there'll certainly be a large focus on compassion, as well as self-regulation, grounding practices, all very applicable to your daily life. So if you are interested, yes, I believe it's on North Brisbane Psychologists.
It's on our website. It's on our website, and it's on our events Facebook page as well. Yes.
Yes. Perfect.
And do you want to tell people quickly about the location of the retreat?
Good point. Yes. We have a really stunning location. It's a waterfront property over at Stradbroke Island on the bay side. It's very calm and peaceful.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it really, really a very special place. We've been taking retreats there for over 8 years now. So we know the space well. It lends itself beautifully to rest and deep restoration. So yeah, the schedule is very much in fitting with very traditional contemplative practices from which Rachel and I both come. But the environment is also, well, it's more than comfortable. It's beautiful.
So beautiful.
Everyone loves the location.
Everybody loves it. It's just, dolphins swimming by and koalas in the garden, like literally. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is a very special place. We have a local woman doing the catering as well, and the food's always a hit. So she's got a beautiful menu lined up.
And it's a small group, about 10 or 12 people. So it's, you get lots of attention from me and from Alexis and from our colleague Emma, who will be joining us as well.
And in fact, it is a very affordable way for those of you who are talking about, the fees and the difficulty getting in. It's actually an extremely affordable way to have access with your own private psychologist and to really drink in the practices, as I was saying, to take them in yourself. Plenty of resources to continue with it even after the retreat as well.
Well, thank you, Alexis. A couple of people have said it's been a wonderful discussion and helpful. So we won't be back next Sunday night because we'll be on retreat with our retreat participants.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we could do a Saturday one instead, Alexis.
That's a good point. Yes, I'm down with that. Would you like to let us know if that interests you at 5 p.m. on a Saturday?
Just for half an hour before our retreat.
I'm sure we'll be psyched. That sounds great.
Good.
Okay, well, I must sign off, everybody, but thank you for joining us. And thank you so much, Rachel. You're a wealth of knowledge, and we're extremely lucky to have access to your insight. So thank you so much for tonight.
Likewise to you. Thank you so much, Alexis. And thank you, everyone who joined us.
Okay. Ciao.
Bye.